I'm Ahmad Hamdan and this is Nightline, news making the headlines. Bill to increase expenditure of COVID-19 fund to 110 billion ringgit passed. And fines await for unvaccinated individuals caught crossing state lines. Our headlining story, the Dewan Rakyat has passed a bill to increase expenditure of the COVID-19 fund to 110 billion ringgit to maintain the momentum of the nation's economic recovery. The temporary measures for government financing COVID-19 Amendment Bill 2021 was passed by a voice vote when put to the House. The additional 45 billion ringgit allocation is needed to fund the four aid and stimulus packages, namely the Malaysian Economic and Rakyat's Protection Assistance Package, or PERMAI, National Strategic Program to Empower the People and Economy, Permerkasa, Permerkasa Plus, and the National People's Wellbeing and Economic Recovery Package, or PERMULIH, announced by the government since the beginning of the year. In tabling the second reading of the bill on Monday, Finance Minister Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz said the packages required an additional allocation of 27 billion ringgit and added that the fund will also be used for development projects under the 12th Malaysia Plan to ensure that the nation's recovery remains on track.
Berdasarkan kedudukan semasa KWC 19, Kementerian Kewangan mengunjurkan bahawa peruntukan tahun ini tidak mencukupi untuk membiayai pakej-pakej tersebut. Ini adalah kerana sejumlah 60 bilion ringgit telah dibelanjakan dan baki siling setakat hujung September 2021 adalah berjumlah 5 bilion ringgit sahaja.
He said that given the additional funds required as well as the current economic performance and the statutory debt limit for this year and 2022, it was appropriate for the temporary measures for government financing Coronavirus Disease 2019 Act 2020 to be amended. He stressed that in the medium term, the government remains committed to the fiscal consolidation measures outlined under the 12th Malaysia Plan, with the deficit target to be reduced to 3.5% of GDP by 2025. Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul also said that the bill encompasses three clauses which included the proposed estimated additional expenditure of 45 billion ringgit. The bill was tabled for the first reading in the Dewan Rakyat by Deputy Finance Minister Muhammad Shahar Abdullah on September 28th. Also at the August House, domestic flight ticket prices for routes to Sabah and Sarawak will return to standard prices when the total flight frequency operates as usual. Deputy Transport Minister Datuk Henry Sam Agong said that as such, the government through the Malaysian Aviation Commission, MAVCOM, would continue to monitor flight ticket prices for all domestic routes, including routes between the Peninsula and Sabah and Sarawak.
Harga tiket penerbangan yang tinggi ini antara lain merupakan kesan daripada pelaksanaan had kapasiti penerbangan oleh Kerajaan Negeri Sarawak. Pelaksanaan had kapasiti ini adalah sebahagian daripada usaha Kerajaan Negeri Sarawak melalui Jawatankuasa Pengurusan Bencana Negeri untuk menangani penularan wabak COVID-19. Pada ketika itu, kekerapan penerbangan ke Sarawak telah berkurangan sebanyak 94% berbanding semasa tempoh sebelum wabak COVID-19. Manakala bagi penerbangan di antara Semenanjung dan Sabah, kekerapan penerbangan telah berkurangan sebanyak 89% berbanding semasa tempoh sebelum wabak COVID-19.
Datuk Henry was responding to a question from Sibuti MP Lukanisman Awang Sauni on the government's move to reduce the price of flight tickets from Sarawak to the Peninsula and Sabah, which were high during the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as what the remedial measures were for the matter. He also said air ticket prices are determined using a dynamic pricing mechanism and the concept of cross-subsidization, that is, that profitable flights will cover the operating costs of non-profitable routes. The Dewan Rakyat also decided that members of parliament will no longer be compelled to wear face masks when debating in the House. Speaker Dr. Azhar Azizan Harun said this was because COVID-19 rapid antigen testing and PCR tests had found no positive cases since proceedings began on September 6th.
Sepanjang persidangan kita kali ini, alhamdulillah, dengan ujian-ujian antigen dan PCR yang dijalankan, tidak seorang pun yang telah didapati positif dari perkarangan parlimen sepanjang persidangan ini. Berdasarkan penilaian risiko sebegitu, maka Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia berpandangan bahawa pelitup muka ketika perbahasan di dalam Dewan Rakyat dibenarkan untuk dibuka, ya, semasa perbahasan. Tetapi ahli-ahli yang berhormat diingatkan untuk memakai semula pelitup muka dengan kadar segera selepas setiap kali berucap.
Besides the lawmakers, media personnel, officers and other staff present at the Parliament vicinity during the current sitting are also required to undergo a COVID-19 saliva RTK test every Monday and Wednesday. Malaysia will express its stance at the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or UNFCCC COP26, scheduled to be held in Glasgow, Scotland from October 31st until November 12th. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the government's stance to be presented at the convention for the first time was discussed by the country's top leadership during the Malaysia Climate Change Action Council, or MyCAC meeting, which he chaired on Monday. Dr. Sri Ismail in a statement said that he and the Environment and Water Minister would not be able to attend the World Leaders Summit on November 1st and 2nd, as well as UNFCCC COP26. Hence, the meeting has given the mandate to the delegations led by the ministry to deliver the government statement. Among others, Malaysia intended to reduce the greenhouse gas GHG emission intensity by 45% across the economy based on the gross domestic product in 2030. He said the target was made unconditional and was 10% higher than the previous one. Dr. Sri Ismail added the country also aspired to achieve net zero GHG emissions as early as 2050. The government also aimed at increasing new energy generation with 100% procurement of non-internal combustion engine (ICE) for government vehicles by 2030, retaining at least 50% national forest coverage, encourage zero waste and recycling, as well as development of low-carbon cities through the Low Carbon Cities Master Plan and adoption of circular economy concept. Moving on, Malaysia's police force will begin issuing fines to unvaccinated individuals caught crossing state lines following the resumption of interstate travel on Monday. Bukit Aman Department of Internal Security and Public Order Director Dato' Hazani Ghazali said that more stern action will be undertaken in this regard. This includes more thorough inspection in public places, especially at rest and rehabilitation or R&R stops, as well as other crowded areas. He said this was to ensure that non-vaccinated individuals do not take advantage of the new interstate travel relaxation announced by the government. Dato' Hazani added that warnings will no longer be given to those found committing the offence, as the police will be much more assertive in handling cases of SOP disobedience. In the meantime, Plus Malaysia Berhad's operations have returned to 100% capacity in preparation for the sudden surge in traffic flow due to the reopening of interstate travel, which began on Monday. Its Head of Operations Excellence, Muhammad Yusof Abdul Aziz, said preliminary preparations have been carried out, including the 24-hour operation of the Traffic Monitoring Centre. Although travel restrictions have been relaxed, no unusual traffic flow was reported on the main roads leading out of the capital, even on Monday morning. However, Plus expects there will be a surge in vehicle numbers this weekend, as well as during the Maulidur Rasul public holiday next Tuesday.
Untuk kami bersiap sedia menghadapi trafik yang dijangka mungkin meningkat dengan ketara terutama pada hujung minggu ini, kita memang telah memastikan jadual petugas-petugas contohnya berada dalam keadaan yang penuh, yang terbaiklah sebenarnya, ya. Jadi kita akan memastikan semua rondaan daripada plus ronda yang kita panggil standby, ya, staf-staf yang tambahan yang lain akan berada di lokasi.
He was speaking to members of the media at the Traffic Monitoring Centre in Persada Plus, Subang Jaya on Monday. Plus will also work closely with the police and the Road Transport Department in order to ensure the comfort and safety of customers along the 130 kilometres highway stretch. As of Monday, 94 toll plazas nationwide have been opened to allow for interstate travel. Meanwhile, the Gombak Toll Plaza, which is the main exit point for Klang Valley residents heading towards the East Coast, was still very much under control as at Monday afternoon. However, there has been a slight increase in the traffic flow of over 50% compared to 1 week ago.
Bila dah diumum, dah dapat cuti, so kita ambil peluang awal lah. Kalau nak tunggu hari satu hari ni takut jam pula. Kita pun tak lama, saya ambil masa 2 hari je. Balik Ahmad nak balik jumpa mak je lah.
Berapa lama tak balik ni?
Dari PKP hari itulah, mula PKP yang ketiga ni.
Masa awal
tahun 2001 ni Ahmad tak balik lagi. Jadi anak-anak teruja lah nak balik jumpa mak ayah, nenek ni.
Sekarang pergi kantin jalan-jalan lah.
Sudah lama tunggu ah.
Oh, pasal kita mini saya stok tau. Sudah duduk sudah banyak lama lah. Sekarang boleh jalan, okey. Jalan-jalan lah.
Based on the data obtained from the Kuala Lumpur-Karak Expressway and Phase 1's East Coast Expressway concessionaire, Anih Berhad, the number of vehicles passing through the KL-Karak Highway reached 114,292, while there were some 86,423 vehicles passing through the East Coast Expressway. However, the number of vehicles is expected to increase to more than twice that number over the coming weekend. In Johor, the number of vehicles both northbound and southbound has shown a slight increase. Particularly busy has been the Skudai Toll Plaza, which continues to record high traffic flow.
Hari ni kita plan nak menuju ke Kuala Lumpur. Tapi mungkin dah boleh rentas, nak balik ke kampung mungkin kejap tengok nenek sebab benda raya kita tak jumpa nenek. Mungkin ke KL tu mungkin jalan lah sikit. Sebab dah lama kan, bawa mak, bawa adik sekali, bawa berjalan.
Now, individuals living around the Klang Valley who have not been given a COVID-19 vaccination appointment or have yet to receive their second dose can now get immunized for free at private health facilities other than government health clinics. The Health Ministry, in a statement, said this is being carried out through an adult vaccination booking program, which began on Monday at 98 selected private health facilities registered under Protect Health Corporation Sdn Bhd. It said that those living in the Klang Valley who wish to get their vaccination appointment are required to make a reservation with any of these 98 private facilities. The program is specially targeted for the adult population who have just registered and have not received an appointment or who have missed a first dose or second dose appointment, as well as other groups to be announced by the Health Ministry at a later date. The program developed by Protect Health is to improve access to vaccines in Selangor and Kuala Lumpur, as well as to avoid wastage due to uncertainty of vaccine demand. Sarawak has recommended 340,000 individuals, including medical frontliners and senior citizens, be administered the COVID-19 vaccine booster shot, which is expected to start this week. Local Government and Housing Minister Datuk Sri Sim Kui Hian said the recommendation was made by the Sarawak COVID-19 Vaccine Advisory Group, or SCOVAC. Datuk Sri Sim, in a statement on Monday, said medical frontliners have been categorized as the first priority group, while the second group would be those aged above 60 years old with comorbidities. He said the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine will be used as booster doses following the conditional approval granted by the Malaysia's Drug Control Authority, or DCA, regardless of the type of vaccines they were given during initial vaccination. Sarawak, which has been entrusted by the Health Ministry to be the first to start the initiative, received 210,600 doses of Pfizer COVID-19 vaccines from Belgium, on Sunday evening for the booster shots. He said the state is expected to administer the booster shot to the rest of the adults aged 18 years old and above after completing the 2 priority groups. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin had previously said that Sarawak would be the first state to start the booster dose program, as it was the first to complete the vaccination program. Selangor to focus on people's well-being in next year's budget. Details when we return. Staying with us. Efforts to revitalize the economy, increase revenue and channel aid to those affected by the COVID-19 pandemic will be the main focus of the 2022 Selangor budget. Digitalization and digital platforms will also be given priority, especially in attracting investors to the state, as well as creating new job opportunities.
Tahun lepas saja kita sediakan digitalisasi hampir 300 juta ringgit Malaysia. So saban tahun memang kita akan letakkan satu angka yang besar kerana kita ingin mencapai sebuah negeri pintar menjelang 2025 dan digitalisasi tahun ini saya jangkakan kita akan sediakan peruntukan yang paling kurang sama besar seperti tahun lepas untuk mengujakan dan transformasi digital di agensi-agensi, jabatan-jabatan dan juga termasuk kehidupan kita di negeri Selangor.
He said the Selangor budget plays an important role as the state contributes more than 25% of the gross domestic product GDP. Hence, he said an allocation of around 1.9 billion to 2.5 billion ringgit was needed to rebalance the post-COVID-19 economy as well as to ensure that all segments of the public receive appropriate assistance. Earlier, Datuk Sri Amiruddin received a courtesy call from Media Prima Group Chairman Datuk Sri Dr. Said Hussein Al-Junid, as well as Media Prima Group Managing Director Rafiq Razali. The more than 1 hour meeting, among others, discussed the role of MPB in channeling information to the people of Selangor, especially in relation to state government initiatives. In other news, the local actor who was detained after being suspected of drug abuse in Kuala Kangsar, Perak on Sunday, along with a film director and his assistant, have all been remanded for 2 days until Tuesday. Perak Police Chief Datuk Mio Farida Latrash Wahid said the 3 were arrested by a team from the Criminal Investigation Division of the Kuala Kangsar District Police Headquarters and assisted by members of the Kuala Kangsar Police Station. It is understood that the actor, aged 28, as well as a drama and film director and his assistant, aged 49 and 47 respectively, were nabbed in the 7:15 a.m. raid on a house following a tip-off from the public. Inspections on the 3 rooms of the house led to the discovery of cannabis and shabu, estimated to be worth about 270 ringgit. The 3 suspects were taken to the Kuala Kangsar District Police Headquarters for further investigation, where they tested positive for drugs. Further investigations revealed that the director also had a previous record related to drugs. The Kuala Lumpur Road and Transport Department, or JPJKL, issued a total of 399 summonses during 2 operations dubbed Op Khas Motorsikal and Op Merah at 4 different locations in the city centre. The operations, led by its head of enforcement division, Ahmad Kamarun Zaman Mehat, with 62 personnel, were conducted at Jalan Raja Laut, Jalan Tun Razak, Jalan Pahang and Jalan Kilang in Wangsa Maju. Also present during the operation was JPJKL Director Muhammad Zaki Ismail. Of the total summonses, 300 were issued to individuals for not having driving licenses, 6 for having expired road taxes, 58 for using fancy number plates, and 21 for other offences. After the break, New Zealand makes COVID vaccines mandatory for doctors and teachers. Welcome back. Vote counting was underway in Iraq on Monday, a day after a record low turnout in a parliamentary election, reflecting what many Iraqis said was a loss of faith in the country's democratic process and political class. According to the Electoral Commission, the turnout in Sunday's election was 41%, whereby the lowest turnout was in Baghdad, with between 31% and 34%. Sunday's vote was held in response to mass protests in 2019 that demanded jobs, services, the removal of Iraq's ruling parties and overhaul of the political system. The country has held 5 parliamentary elections since the US-led invasion of Iraq in 2003 that toppled dictator Saddam Hussein, but most ordinary Iraqis say their lives have not improved even during the relative peace since Daesh was defeated in 2017. In the meantime, the Electoral Commission did not give an indication when it would have the election results, suggesting the full outcome could be delayed. New Zealand on Monday announced a sweeping no jab, no job policy for most healthcare workers and teachers to prevent the spread of COVID-19. According to COVID-19 Response Minister Chris Hipkins, the government refused to leave anything to chance, thus the reason for making vaccination mandatory. The new mandate compels doctors, pharmacists, community nurses and many other healthcare workers to be fully vaccinated by December, while teachers and other education workers must be fully vaccinated by January. The order includes home-based educators and parents volunteering at schools, but no decision has been made on whether vaccination will be mandatory in the tertiary education sector. The Australian city of Sydney has emerged from lockdown after almost 4 months, with locals celebrating a range of new freedoms. Residents on Monday queued for shops that open at midnight specifically for the occasion, while many others have been enjoying anticipated reunions and visits to the homes of relatives and friends. Previously, COVID rules had banned household visits and travel beyond a 5-kilometre zone separating many families. But most restrictions have now been eased for fully vaccinated people. People can now share meals together at reopened cafes and restaurants and visit gyms, libraries and pools. Australia's biggest city was allowed to exit lockdown after the state of New South Wales reached a 70% double-dose vaccination target for over 16s. Sports tennis, the BNP Paribas Open. Top seeds Stefanos Tsitsipas and Andy Murray both advanced to third round after beating their respective opponents on Sunday. Tsitsipas put on a dominant display as he dispatched world number 61 Pedro Martinez 6-2, 6-4 in his opening match. The win set a third-round clash against 25th seed Fabio Fognini following a 3-set winner over Jan-Lennart Struve. Earlier in another match, Murray rallied from a set down to beat Carlos Alcaraz in the second round. The Briton lost the first set 5-7 before winning the remaining two sets 6-3, 6-2 to set up a clash with either Jenson Brooksby or Alexander Zverev in the third round. On to football, the UEFA Nations League. France head coach Didier Deschamps praised his team's fighting spirit as the Les Bleus came from behind to beat Spain 2-1 and win the UEFA Nations League on Sunday. The 52-year-old said, well, this was a far from perfect display in a competition which lacks the same prestige as the FIFA World Cup and the Euros. It will be viewed positively in France as an example of the current group of players finding their way back onto the path to success after a tough period.
Derrière et derrière, les joueurs ont prouvé qu'ils sont toujours au haut niveau. On peut avoir des matchs qu'on ne maîtrise pas de A à Z. Ok, au mois de septembre, on a fait 2 matchs nuls. On reste sur 3 bons résultats avec le contenu. Là, on avait face à nous 2 très bonnes équipes européennes. La meilleure, la Belgique, et l'Espagne aujourd'hui, même s'il manquait des joueurs.
It was Spain which broke the deadlock in the 64th minute as Mikel Oyarzabal raced onto Sergio Busquets' ball over the top and fired into the bottom right corner. But France was swiftly back on level terms as Karim Benzema cut in from the left and curled a sumptuous effort into the top right corner before Kylian Mbappe picked up Theo Hernandez's through ball and placed it into the bottom right corner for the winning goal. Hugo Lloris then pulled off two great saves from point-blank range to deny first Oyarzabal and then Jeremy Pino as France survived a late siege by Spain to claim the title. Over in America, a drone videographer captured an enormous school of menhaden fish swimming in a mesmerizing mess off Southampton, New York. It is understood that menhaden, also known as bunkerfish, tend to seek warmer Atlantic waters to the south during the North American fall and winter months before they return to the cooler north during spring and summer. Take a look. I'm Muhammad. I'm Hamdan. Thank you for tuning in and stay safe.